Derby Line, Vermont, and behind me is the Haskell Free Library and Opera House. It is unique in that it straddles the Canadian and American border.
Most of the library is in Canada.
The border runs through the library. It's marked with thick black tape. You can jump over it from Canada to America.
Yeah, well, the Haskell is something that everybody's grown up with, right? Being here for over 120 years. It has an American feel, but a Canadian feel at the same time, right? You get the French books, the English books.
In late March, there was an uproar when the US government restricted Canadians' access to this library.
The fact that Canadians could enter an American door without having to report at the border was something that was accepted and tolerated, and a way of showing that both countries kind of come together.
The door to the library is in Vermont. For decades, Canadians were allowed to cross over the border here, remain on the sidewalk, and enter the library through the front door. U.S. Customs and Border Protection is allowing Canadians with library cards to enter via this front door, but starting in October, they must use a border crossing. The library's solution? Open a back door on the Canadian side.
Hello. Hello, bonjour. Bonjour. Normally we came through the States, and we don't have to go to the border with the passport and everything.
We have a back entrance and we can use it. Our back entrance opens into Canada, so any of our Canadian clientele and our staff can go in that way.
We need to make sure that we keep it a friendly border. Yeah, there might be issues. Let's deal with them one by one. Let's not make it bigger than it really is.
It was really important to us that we entered through the Canadian side. We saw the border police and we were like, no, we don't want to go in on the American side. So we turned around and came in through the Canadian side.
You know, it's just an open place, welcoming, always has been low-key. It's just very different now.
Yeah, it's this tiny little community, this friendly, easy access place, and suddenly we're in the news. And
we heard so many things at the TV and the newspaper, I don't know.
US and Canadian media, but we've actually had media that come from other countries as well.
Salut, from France. Oui, toi? Tu viens de France, de quel endroit?
La Bretagne.
La Bretagne, oh, okay.
When we were here today, the mayor of Stanstead, Québec, was having a meeting with the mayor of Newport, Vermont.
We had actually reached out to each other almost as soon as I was elected to say, let's get together and have this conversation. And then all of a sudden the news of the tariffs came, and then on top of that, the news about the closing the access on the Canadian side to the Haskell Library. So it's kind of changed our agenda right out of the box, but it doesn't change the long-term initiative, which is we need to work together to make it clear that our communities have always been, in many ways, one community, and we're going to continue to function that way.
We are going to stand together, and we're going to do what we can to make sure that our communities stay alive and flourish together.
What do we do to work to strengthen the ties between these two communities while the Trump administration is doing its level best to try and weaken them?
This was our storage room. So after the closing of the border, we made this into our Canadian entrance. The door used to open the other way. So the door is now realigned to open toward the Canadians. So this would be the Canadian entrance to the theater. The elevator is way over on the other side. So that will be an issue. You know, everything is changing so fast. So this is the way the Canadians have to come in. Okay. And there's your regular entrance.
Yeah, it's been very crazy. It really touched the emotions of people on both sides of the border, because if you live in a border community, you know the bonds that we have between our communities. And this was a symbol of that.
Well, I think it's awful that people are trying to separate books from anybody. So trying to divide this library by a nationality is just ridiculous.
I don't know what's the purpose of the security, because if I come this side, I'm Canadian, and American come the other side. What's the difference?
the mood has changed, but I don't know if it's within us, if we're bringing that to it, or what, because really the border crossing on both sides has been friendly and open, at least from my experience. We feel the tension and we feel the foreboding of something bad to come, kind of.
I couldn't predict this ever happening. I couldn't predict the present politics.
In January, United States Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem visited the library and sparked outrage on both sides of the border.
Kristi Noem had an entourage of about 15, 20 people. And coming in, they're all behind her, and she went, U.S., 51st state. 51st state.
Well, I was disappointed. Disappointed to think that a head of state, of someone of that, in that position, would do something like that.
I love this place and I love these people, and I feel they've been insulted. All I can say is I apologize to them.
We're not happy that we're being treated this way, but we also know that it's not because of you guys. You don't want this any more than we do, regardless of the politics that people may have and may look at.
It was built for that purpose. So to change it now feels kind of sacrilegious, or it feels like a violation of the intent that was here when this was built.
When this library was opened, this was our matriarch, she opened it, and she was 70 when she started this project. Her husband had the lumber business, but he was from the US side, she was from the Canadian side. They married and they built the big house across the street.
Why do it on the border like this?
Intentionally. So it included both countries. It included everyone in the area. It was intentionally put on the border to encompass both. This was an open border at the time. And the building was completed in 1904. 1909, the border was closed, but we were grandfathered. It was always a mellow border even then. And then you had 9/11, and then you had COVID, and over time the border has just tightened up, and what used to be just a walkway then became granite blocks, then became boulders, then became bumpers, then became cameras. I do know that we're probably not popular with Border Patrol and Customs and Immigration, but we were here first.
And our communities are so intertwined that if it wasn't for the border, you wouldn't know that they were two separate communities. We share the same water, we drink the same water, we share a sewer plant. Our fire departments come and help each other.
The people from both sides, they always work together.
We both curl, and we have friends on both sides of the border.
You couldn't ask for better neighbors.
We've played softball, hockey with a lot of border agents. It's one of the focal points that we have, especially with our new Canusa 360 Arts Group.
You know, when my son was little, I can't believe I did it, but we would let him cross the border with his friends. And then, like my singing rehearsal is right there. He learned how to swim in Canada. We used to ride our bikes up there and take walks, and we go on the bike path up in Hatley, and we still do, and we go to the spas in Canada, and I have friends in Canada. So it just feels like it's one community. In fact, when the pandemic came along and it was shut off, we felt like half our world was shut.
I just think all the stories, the art, the literature, the music, we're benefiting from a cross-cultural experience of trading and sharing and growing together.
I taught here in Derby Line for 30-something years, and I was friends with my Coromandel teachers across the border, and so we would meet here with our children because nobody had to cross the border. The Canadians didn't have to cross the border, neither did we, so it was a nice place to rehearse. And we loved being in this building. It just felt good to sing here.
Like the border region does something unique to the culture and the character of the community.
Every little gain that each one of us has is a gain for each other,
Most of the people who wanted to talk about it at all apologized to me for our president in the United States. And that's actually a classic response from a Canadian, right?
What I've been hearing and getting comments of empathy from a lot of my American friends and family that what can we do to help, because we feel helpless what's going on. As Joe Cocker eloquently said, we'll get by with a little help from our friends.
I came today just to contribute to the door access. My husband and I said, let's go to the Haskell and support them.
Thank you so much for the outpouring of comments and contributions.
We've had responses from all over the world.
I mean, it's not going to look like this beautiful entrance, but
Well, right now it's kind of grim, right? It's not very appealing. You're coming in the back door. With the generous donations from Canadians and Americans, and a lot of Americans at that, the library will make that better.
And we came specifically through here to come to this library, to visit this library. I'm a librarian, and I'd heard about the border, and I thought that was so cool. I just wanted to point out these are the Louise Penny books, and she is from the Eastern Townships. But I hear she's coming here.
So these are the French books. So Louise is going to be over here. I read her because she's local and it's special.
This is a momentary blip where a president who is convinced he can find political advantage in doing things that almost certainly will not endure over time. That president has enough power to play that out right now. But if we work every day to strengthen those relationships that have already existed here for many years, and we just keep pressing in that direction, over time, things will find a new equilibrium and we'll get back to some semblance of order.
I will continue to stay positive and to try and do the little bit that I can do to improve relations between Canada and the U.S.
We're like family. What's going on will not break the admiration and respect that both communities have.
This place is just wonderful and unique. I don't know what else to tell you there.
Now I'm in America, and now I'm in Canada. Bonjour! America, Canada. So starting October 1st, if you are a Canadian resident, you need to enter through the back entrance of the library on the Canadian side. And we will get stuck in Vermont or Canada if we're in the Haskell Free Library with you again real soon.
How long have you been in Stanstead?
All my life, except for the first 3 days. I was born in Newport, Vermont at the old Broadview Hospital. It was not a problem. It was 10 minutes away from here compared to a hospital in Sherbrooke, Quebec, which is 45 minutes away. So as the labor pains grew closer, I guess they opted for a quick 10-minute ride to Newport, Vermont. So I was born in Newport, Vermont, so I have dual citizenship.